Hello, and welcome to Secular Sexuality, the ACA show with the laciest and raciest dirty laundry. The ACA show that is taking a microscope all the way down there. The ACA show most likely to call for bail money. The ACA show that wants the world to know. The ACA show that really wants you to search your heart right now and see what bullshit thing the music is leading you to do. The ACA show that just wants to know, how does that make you feel? The ACA show most likely to be spotted naked in the woods. The ACA show reminding you that it's 7 p.m. Do you know where your children are? The ACA show reminding you that mini-vids, I want clips, and clips for sale are all things that exist. The ACA show that wants to know if that's a roll of quarters in your pocket or just whatever's turning you on this week. The ACA show that desperately wants to know, where were you last night? Who were you with? The ACA's YouTube show that is just this close to moving to clips for sale. The ACA show reminding you that Frankie says, relax. The ACA show that needs to do a better job at teaching people to pay for their porn.
The ACA show most likely to freak out squares.
The only ACA show where you have to ask us to clarify which one we mean when we say CBT.
The ACA show most likely to ask for your ASL. The ACA show for the skeptically spiritual. The ACA show bringing you the queerest, just honestly most divergent, out there content. The ACA show with by far the bravest call screeners. The ACA show asking you to turn your head and cough. The ACA show all about loving, touching, and squeezing. The ACA show barely passing for presentable. The ACA show that is just so damn happy to return a familiar voice. The ACA show that actually knows how to trim our fingernails and how to use a strap-on. The ACA show with the deepest, darkest secrets. For when one ACA show just isn't enough. The ACA show that refuses to watch another goddamn claymation special this year.
Yeah, I mean, just one quick
even...
test. Try to masturbate with an extremely full bladder and see what happens.
What if the other boys make fun of him? Well, who gives a shit?
Right.
A dick is a dick, right?
Weird anyway.
Well, hey, Mom, remember when I told you that I like dicks? Well, guess what? I don't think God's real either. You know, Satan turned me gay, and now I don't believe in God or Satan anymore.
You know, Helen, you were talking about this sort of like nagging feeling that you don't necessarily fit in or that this isn't necessarily you. And I hear that and I feel that, but I also know that it can be really easy to kind of forget about those pieces of yourself. And then you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, well, why did I do that? Oh, right. Because I'm queer. Right. Yeah.
Right.
There was that whole thing in high school. Yeah. I remember that was a thing.
So, I wouldn't worry so much about the label. I would just as you do more education and stuff like that, if there's a certain term that you feel comfortable with and identifies you, use that. I mean, like you could use purple, like I'm purple, and that's my sexuality. And, it's because you have to find something that makes you feel comfortable.
Feels good to be naked.
Yeah.
Love it.
But you should probably be mindful.
You should be mindful where you are naked. Without production involved, they have these conversations, whereas with girl type, the in the box, the in heteronormative.
Yeah.
The in the
I
box.
like that.
In
the box. Yeah. It's a good analogy. I feel like the sort of lesbian porn that I put out into the world is really important because I think that people who are like me, people who are like the people that I fuck, like I want them to see themselves represented in these spaces, and to know that it's okay. Like that's a big one.
Sure.
But I also think it does a disservice to like people that think that that's sex. They don't.
Right. Sure.
There are people who don't understand that that's not. Please don't plow me like that.
Yeah, I was like, sorry, I'm actually not a sex robot that you input money into and get responses back from. Like it just. I am a person.
Even though the word Christy is not difficult to spell or to hear or to enunciate, people would constantly ask me, "Wait, what was your name? But Okay, so how do you spell that? Mostly out of fear that they would accidentally call me by a girl's name, which would be incredibly offensive, of course. From the outside, it's to me like watching somebody blow bubble gum or curl their tongue or these like other things that just feel so completely outside of my understanding of how to like navigate or manipulate a body. Yeah, okay, thanks, Sarah. For the podcast audience, Sarah's a jerk. Who can curl her tongue, and I cannot. Well, if you want to be understood in the talkies, you have to speak in just the right way for the primitive technology. I don't know if that was any good at all. I apologize. We can delete that later.
Well, I mean, if you look at any of like the websites that have a bunch of therapists on there, it can be kind of daunting. And I think in Austin, if you throw a rock, you're going to hit a therapist.
Yeah, fair to say. It's just another reason why like dating or making friends with a therapist is a great idea. Highly recommend it to everybody involved. I'm not going to pretend that I've never played with toy dinosaurs, but maybe not in the first appointment with somebody who's like not at all picking it up,
I was never trained in dinosaur therapy, so I feel ignorant here.
Yeah, who's up for shitty margaritas after the show?
I'm in.
Next time I'm in Austin, all three of us are going to get together to have pretzels, dinosaurs, margaritas, and
kind of like played that game of he's not really gay because he didn't say it, and I don't want to believe that he would be. So he's exactly that. Like he's a great
gospel Clay Aiken.
Yes, he's a gospel Clay Aiken.
Just approach it with empathy and compassion for everybody involved, and try to have some fun and sort it out with towels when you're all done.
Your relationship is your business and you're happy with it, and you and your partner are better people for it. It works for you, and that's great. It's not necessarily how we do things over here in the Puck household, and that's just as okay.
Nate, I don't know. Maybe we would work as I think relationship anarchy. I think that's the only real way to describe the connection that you and I have been forming these past few months.
A lot of creators in the adult industry were complaining on Twitter about shadow bans, and I was like, well, there's got to be an algorithm for this, because it's not a person going around going, adult screw them, adult screw them, adult screw them.
What's the motivation? Why is hypothetically Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, these folks so eager to shut out voices or topics around marijuana, around sexuality, around, possibly particular political perspectives or these kinds of things? Why keep that from folks?
Disney. No? Okay, I'll continue. So when you have politicians being chosen based off of social media presence and stuff, that kind of changes the dynamic. It goes from cute cat memes to very impactful in someone's life. And when you can just silence a side or eliminate the competition, like, I'm sorry, but I don't want to live in a Putintanical world. Wow, that's a word.
You're like a sex archaeologist.
I keep joking and saying I'm turning into a historian.
You're like the Indiana Jones of the sex worker industry. My partner of 10 years and I both have people that we follow and pay to see sexy pictures of, and we don't care. It doesn't threaten the other that when my partner's not around and I want to fire the cannon, or does he? There's no shame around that, and there's no shame around paying the person providing you with that pleasure for what they've done for you. The more we can normalize this, the more we can make it healthy, the more these social media outlets will be discouraged from shadow banning and deplatforming, because it's just going to be a part of life. We all like to fuck, so let's just admit it.
We're talking about someone who really knows what she's talking about. There you go. Let's get that nice
Be
one up in the
careful with asking about the skulls, Puck. I'll turn around and start handling them and telling you all about them, because that is my greatest desire. I just want to sit in front of the camera and tell you about the skulls. Talk Origins is, and I was saying this to Puck earlier, actually. It's funny because they haven't updated their site in like a decade, but all their reputations still work because the creators are saying the same stuff, but they are what you call social monogamists, which I didn't actually mention this to you earlier, Puck, but this is kind of interesting because they are monogamous until the opportunity strikes to not be monogamous.
I haven't really been keeping track. Roughly 8 months ago, so I've given
Time is a flat circle during COVID. I don't think any of us even knows how long ago 8 months ago was. Yeah, I feel like you and I are on our way to like an escalating war of obnoxiousness to see who can get the best soundbite in each and every week. So now that we're both here, it's in competition.
All right. Oh, it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong, Christy, and you going down.
Then we would probably all agree that, yeah, that's a good thing. Like the fact that we can actually cut people open and change their insides in order to increase their health and wellness is remarkable. At the same time, if I actually had to stand in an OR and watch that happen, I'd probably throw up. Now that I'm like this sort of pseudo quasi celebrity with the Atheist Experience Network, I have thought about whether or not I should go back and maybe get rid of that old Twitter account or some of these different things. I'm Christy Powell. My co-host tonight is the only person I know who watches more hockey than porn. Welcome, Puck.
Well, it's the off season right now, so the ratio is a little bit different than usual. But,
Glad you're shifting it over.
And that's the thing too, is like you don't want to emulate what you've seen in a lot of porn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, make it
then
your
girls
own,
come,
right?
yes, and then you know girls come on set and they're like,
instead of that, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, oh, fuck yeah, yes, just like that. You know, it's like, no,
that's how you get demonetized.
Don't do that.
I know for me, we've been purging a lot of the stuff in our bedroom, and I got rid of a bunch of old sex toys.
Oh no!
Because when you have some sex toys and they get kind of old, and when you start pulling them out, you're like, I don't think I can use this anymore. So, but
I don't have a problem admitting that I was right around that same age using dial-up internet and waiting forever for a picture of one boob to load. Just one boob. One bar at a time. Yeah. I mean, we have gotten in so many. I'm not a linguist. I'm not an etymologist, but I don't know anything about bugs. But the way that we have gotten habituated in our culture to certain assumptions actually is making things so much harder. Like when I hear people complain about the singular they, I'm like, it's because you just haven't been using it. It's a great tool, guys. No, grandma's an idiot. Like if she's a homophobe, then, fuck her. Don't listen to her.
You can catch us on Facebook, Secular Sexuality Fan Group. I know a lot of us interact there. And
absolutely.
Lots of great questions, lots of great statements and stories, and lots of good conversations. So
come tell us your wood porn stories.
Yeah.
Wood porn.
My co-host tonight is one tongue depressor short of a pap smear. Welcome, Nate Smith.
Christy, my tongue is the least depressed part of my anatomy. Thank you very much.
Well, so long as we are stirring the pot, I guess I wanted to explore the word spirituality, because I know just that term in and of itself is kind of an eye roll trigger around the ACA, and not without good reason.
And he goes on to say things like, they're teaching kids in school that there's 15 different genders now, or they're having drag queens come in and read to children. And they were kind of making like remarks about how that was a negative thing. And it really didn't sit well with me. But I also didn't know how to respond because they're conservative people. And I don't want to say, you're an asshole and shut them down like completely from opening up their minds. But I don't know. I know it'll come up again because my coworkers, usually when they discuss things, they bring them up quite a few times. But I'm just wondering like how I should better be a good ally in this situation.
Man, I wish that drag queens were getting invited to read to kids in schools. And, I don't know about 15 genders exactly, but yeah, that feels better than our current system. So what a beautiful fantasy.
It used to be that we would tell kids if they masturbated, their palms would get hairy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I was definitely told that I would go blind.
Oh, there you go. Gosh, and you're young.
Yeah.
So, and that's a focus on people with penises, not necessarily people with vaginas, because
Yeah, because girls don't masturbate, right? Yeah, naturally.
no, we have no sexuality, of course.
Not something that's contingent to personal survival. Although this is the part where I'd insert the jokes about how people's junk will shrivel up and disappear if they're not getting any.
That actually came up in one of the, I think, autistic asexual groups I was in, and they were like, "Oh, like anyone can really go that long without sex," and I'm like, "Y'all are not gonna die for not having sex. Like, it's not like you're in the desert and you're like, I've had water and food, but I haven't had sex, and so I succumb. Like, no one is gonna die from not having sex."
It's Thursday, so you are off the hook. You are officially off the leash and ready to growl.
I'm growling. There were some times too where like I think it doesn't hurt to be like a little sarcastic. I feel like if people know you can play with it a little bit, sometimes they'll be more willing to like hear you out. So there's always like also the opportunity to like misgender them back. Not that I want to like endorse misgendering, but if it's a cis person and they're calling you like the absolute wrong pronoun, you're like, "Oh yes, thank you, ma'am," to like a big burly cis man. Like that can be like kind of, a little way to be like, I'm not mad at you. Clearly, I'm playing along, but I'm trying to point out to you that you're kind of being a fucking asshole without noticing it.
And Jung, when he was 3 years old, had this dream that there was golden feces coming from the sky, taking a shit on his dad's church.
That being said, anybody who had a confusing dream recently that has been like waiting for confirmation from the universe that it was true, I guess we can just let this conversation be that. If I just fucked with anybody's head, I'm sorry.
Doubt will put a bad taste in your mouth, but blind faith will put, planes through the Twin Towers.
I'm quite impressed that you pegged me for that, Andy.
I knew the J. I got the J easy.
Well, I like to think that there are 15 different universes where you got it wrong, but I'm so glad to live in this one.
Yes, but we do have calls. Apparently, this is a call-in show. Who knew?
Oh, really? We're going to stop talking and let other people talk?
I know, right?
All right.
Yeah, no, Puck, part of our show, pointed out in the chat that when you form a community where people are actually going to classes and reading books and having conversations and exchanging information and learning and discussing their sexuality, suddenly incidences of abuse start to evaporate. It's almost as if sexual education is a way of preventing harm.
Funny that, right?
Funny that.
Yeah, funny that.
And if it does get out of hand, we've always got Christie's safe word, which, as we all know, is pumpkin.
Humility is a very powerful coin in that community because people will sniff out your bullshit and be able to call you on it and be very turned off by, you mentioned those like dumbly doms that come in for the very first time and are like, "Oh, I'm such a badass master," and ain't nobody buying it. Just be you, be humble.
Yep.
I'm not buying it from you, Christy. I'll tell you that much.
I am a dumbly dom. Get your ass over here, bitch.
Like, have you farted during sex?
Yeah, that was a good one. I wanted to make a comment, but I'm like, I mean, I might, but then I'd never get another blowjob again, and that would be a crying shame.
Literally, the entirety of the prank is that they put a little girl with long black hair and the hair pulled down in front of her face in the hallway of a hotel room or of a hotel. That was it. That was the whole prank.
Yeah, that's enough.
People came around the corner and fucking ran. It was amazing. Like screamed, ran. One person fell down. It was astounding. It's just a little girl. It was amazing. Yeah, God tends to show up right in those moments.
Right when you need him.
Right when you need him. Matter of fact, the prophet of the Mormon Church who had that revelation and then did the this manifesto that ended polygamy. That man had said many times earlier that Mormonism would never give up this institution. They would never give up polygamy. It would be like giving up the scriptures. It would be like giving up God himself. And then not too long after that, it was like, no, what are you talking about? We've almost never did this.
we don't do that.
I feel like more Christians should employ the runaway apologetic. I think that is a useful, just fucking hightail it, man. You got nothing on this one. Just run. Oh my God. It is so great. I just barely recently learned about the new thing that they're doing, which is soaking, but you know, soaking is where he goes into her, but like they don't move so that God can't see.
It's not actual sex because nobody is thrusting, apparently.
That's right. So the new thing is jump humping, which is a soak, but you get your friend to jump on the bed while you're doing it so that they're the ones doing the motion.
So as not to offend God.
Yeah, we're actually going to one tonight. They have like a Halloween thing going. So we're going to go tonight and get dressed up and stuff. But one thing
I love the idea of secular sexuality as sort of like the foreplay to get warmed up before going out to a club like that. So, you know, if there's anything that we can do to whatever.
Well, there's nothing I like more than boning up. So.
Dirty joke. I like it.
What sort of maybe like broad categories are we talking about here? I mean, to start with, I heard you mention kittens and ponies and puppies and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! Like what are we looking at here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a generally good idea to not just go up and tug on anybody's tail under any circumstances, but in particular, if that tail is connected to somebody's rectum, you could be doing some damage, whether that's like actual pain or just a lot of social embarrassment. Oh yeah, she thinks she's a lesbian. Well, she just hasn't met the right guy, and I'll convert her. Like it's got that same kind of energy. And that's pretty disgusting thought process. Certainly the stereotype of the hard ass in the boardroom who wants to have a whipped ass in the bedroom, that exists for a reason, and there's some validity to all of that. Oh, every time I see myself in one of those recaps, I just imagine just how proud my mother must be of me and all of the things that I've accomplished in my storied career.
Especially with that particular one. Not tugging on people's tails. Yeah, the movie Happiest Season. Kristen Stewart, who is, my wife, who is unfortunately getting married to a real life wife.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Watch The Atheist Experience live Sundays at 4:30 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTAXP and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callaxp.